The Colosseum, also known as the majestic Flavian Amphitheater, wasn't just an architectural gem of Rome. It was the very soul of the spectacle, the place where thousands of souls vibrated in unison to the brutality and glory. Have you ever wondered what it really felt like to be there among the crowd, experiencing the chaos and excitement of the games? Today we'll take you straight to the stands, through the eyes of a Roman spectator. It all began with something simple but coveted. A small token called a tessera, the magic key that gave you access to the greatest show on earth. Even though they were free, not everyone could sit wherever they wanted. Rome was a world of hierarchies, and that was reflected even in the seats at the Colosseum. In the days leading up to the event, the city buzzed with rumors, excitement, and anticipation. When the big day arrived, the air was filled with energy. The streets surrounding the Colosseum transformed into a veritable carnival. Street vendors shouted out offers of wine, dates, and lucky charms. Jugglers, musicians, and charlatans mingled with citizens eager to get in. And it wasn't just a one-afternoon event. No, sir. These gladiatorial battles were often held during religious holidays or special festivities, and could last for days, even weeks, becoming an unforgettable experience, as brutal as it was fascinating. When Emperor Titus inaugurated the Colosseum, he didn't do so with a simple ceremony. He celebrated with 100 consecutive days of blood, fury, and glory, an unprecedented madness that brought all of Rome to a standstill. The calendar of spectacles aligned with the great Roman festivities, turning each game into a sacred event, eagerly awaited by the entire population. As the poet Juvenal put it with biting irony, the people no longer care about anything except bread and circuses. From every corner of Rome, citizens marched toward the stone Colossus with one clear objective: to see it die in triumph. In their hands, they carried their tessera, that small ticket that not only served as entry, but also shouted to the world who you were and where you sat in the gigantic Roman social pyramid. Upon arriving at the amphitheater, there was no chaos. The order was almost military. Each spectator was directed to one of the 80 perfectly numbered doors, allowing tens of thousands to enter without crowding, as if the Colosseum itself were absorbing them with mathematical precision. And once inside, came the true reflection of power and class: the stands. At the lowest point, right at the edge of the arena where blood flowed and roars echoed, was a podium reserved for senators, consuls, and other powerful figures. Marble, luxury, and the best view of horror and glory. Just above them, the Roman knights occupied the Minianum, primum, not as close to combat, but privileged enough to enjoy it with comfort and pride. Higher up, the tiers were divided into invisible castes. The Minianum, the secundum, housed the plebeians. The wealthiest sat at the bottom of this section, while the humblest citizens were relegated to the upper rows. And at the top, in the farthest part of the arena, where the sun beat down mercilessly and the view barely reached the center of the fight, were the wooden seats for freedmen, foreigners, and women. Except for the Vestals, the only women with honor in that brutal space. Slaves, of course, weren't even allowed in unless they were working at the event. This was the Colosseum, an exact mirror of Roman society, carved in stone, shouting, and hierarchy. From marble to wood, each seat told a story of power or invisibility. The Colosseum's design was no coincidence. It was a masterpiece of engineering, designed to ensure that every spectator, no matter where they were, could experience the intensity of the spectacle to the fullest. With an imposing elliptical shape stretching almost 180 meters long by 156 meters wide, the amphitheater offered a perfect view from any seat. The tiers, tilted with surgical precision, ensured that even those farthest away couldn't miss a single detail of the brutal action in the arena. Speaking of the arena, its name is no coincidence. It was covered in a thick layer of sand designed to absorb the blood spilled in each fight. But the Colosseum wasn't just large, it was innovative. It featured a system of ramps and elevators that, in a matter of minutes, could transform the stage. Wild animals would burst forth from beneath the arena, and the scenery would change to a dense forest, an arid desert, or a bloody battlefield. They even flooded the arena to recreate epic naval battles that left everyone speechless. The wide, airy corridors and staircases allowed tens of thousands of people to move with surprising order, something that the poet Martial himself immortalized in his verses. describing the mixture of emotion and discipline of the crowd. Furthermore, the Colosseum was a spectacle for all the senses. The architect Vitruvius had already designed its acoustics so that the roars of beasts and the clash of weapons would resonate powerfully, making the audience feel the battle deep in their hearts, no matter where they were sitting. And just before it all began, a blast of bronze trumpets announced the emperor's arrival. His entrance, escorted by his guard and the Roman elite, was a sacred moment that paralyzed the crowd. As he took his throne, the Colosseum filled with shouts, cheers, and applause that seemed to reverberate to the foundations of that gigantic stone mass. The historian Suetonius was quick to assert that when Emperor Titus stepped into the arena, the people's spirits soared to indescribable levels. And with good reason. Pliny the Younger described the ovation as a roar so deafening that it seemed as if the very stones of the Colosseum were vibrating. It was a prelude to a spectacle that promised soul-stirring emotions. The real show began with a monumental procession called a pampa, where imposing gladiators, exotic beasts, and prisoners marched to the accompaniment of trumpets and cheers. They emerged from the dark underground tunnels, advancing toward the center with a single mission, and paid homage to the emperor with that iconic phrase that still resonates in history. "Hail, Emperor! Those who are about to die salute you." After the bow, the atmosphere was charged with an almost palpable tension. The gladiators dispersed, preparing with rituals ranging from prayers to the metallic clash of their weapons, as if each gesture could predict who would survive. Tacitus tells us that the audience, in a respectful and expectant silence, seemed able to read fate in every movement. When the fights began, adrenaline was unleashed. Each warrior studied his opponent, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The Colosseum was a stage for styles as diverse as they were lethal. The Retiarius, armed with his trident and net, faced a powerful Spectator, protected by his shield and short sword. Pliny the Elder compared each blow to a deadly dance, where intelligence could be as lethal as brute force. From the most powerful senators to the commoners perched high above, everyone shouted, applauded, and even offered advice to the gladiators immersed in this titanic battle. And when one was defeated, suspense filled the Colosseum. The victor waited motionless for the signal from the emperor or the crowd, who decided the fallen man's fate with a simple gesture of the thumb. Tacitus describes that moment as a deathly silence, charged with tension and destiny. But it wasn't all bloody duels. During the intervals, the audience was treated to other savage spectacles. The Venetians' brutal hunts where lions, tigers, elephants, and even rhinoceroses faced off against brave hunters armed with nets and spears. Unconventional battles were also witnessed, involving dwarfs, women, and even confrontations between women and wild beasts, events that divided the audience between astonishment, horror, and fascination. Tacitus was quick to point out that while many enthusiastically enjoyed the novelty of the show, others saw in these events a perversion that corrupted traditional customs. But the blood and drama didn't stop at the fights. Public executions were also carried out as part of performance. The condemned, dressed in costumes that transformed them into characters from Greek and Roman myths, were handed over to hungry beasts to fulfill their fate. Suetonius tells us that Emperor Titus spared no expense in macabre spectacles, organizing mass executions that satiated the public's insatiable thirst for violence. Occasionally, the arena was flooded to recreate naval battles called naumachia, taking the spectacle to another level of spectacularity and horror. When the final fight ended, the arena was transformed into a battlefield, blood, dust, and destruction everywhere. Then the arenarii entered, teams of slaves and workers, armed with shovels, buckets of water, and brooms, cleaning every corner to prepare the Colosseum for the coming day of glory and death. The victorious gladiators were called to approach the emperor, who paid homage to them with various gestures. Some received ovations and praise, others a simple nod. But the true ceremony of honor came with the presentation of prizes: laurel wreaths, sums of gold, land, and even the long-awaited freedom for slaves who demonstrated their valor in the arena. Suetonius recounts how Titus, in an act of generosity, granted freedom, riches, and lands to several gladiators after their glorious victories, thus marking the official close of the event. And as the show drew to a close, the Colosseum began to empty, with a capacity of between 50,000 and 80,000 people. The evacuation was perfectly planned. The 80 exits allowed the crowd to disperse quickly in a matter of minutes. As they left, the streets filled with street vendors selling bread, cheese, wine, and fruit, aware that after so many hours of excitement, the audience was hungry and thirsty. Many Romans continued the night in taverns and public baths, heatedly discussing the fights, the emperor's decisions, and the fates of the gladiators. Such was the experience of experiencing a full day of games in the Colosseum, an experience forever etched in the soul of Rome. If you were fascinated by this journey to the heart of the Colosseum, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Right here, I'll leave you another incredible story so you can continue exploring history with US. See you in the next video.